Korean sounds are a little different from...
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And if you say sound, I'm not sure if that is sang, song. So I have to listen very carefully.
Now we are sitting here in Hi-Fi Club with one of the legend, the CEO of Rega, Mr. Roy Gandhi. Nice to meet you.
A legend. That's all right.
Okay. Now you're celebrating the 50th anniversary of Rega. You launched many products in turntables. There are about 6 new models, I guess.
This year, yeah. We almost forgot the 50 years because we were so busy. In the past, we had 2 years of lockdown, and the whole world, well, many countries in the world where people were at home, so they want to listen to music more, and the demand for sales in all audio and hi-fi increased. And in England, we are allowed to keep manufacturing, so we are not locked down at Riga, and our sales demand doubled. And this meant we had to make a decision of no new products, because this is a design team of 5 or 10 people, and when we're making more and more and more, the design team were actually building workbenches and making new rooms. So we had no time to launch new products. And we didn't enjoy this time. Most companies enjoyed it because their sales were higher.
Yeah.
And we did make more profit. But we didn't like the fact we were not organized. It was just demand, no control.
Yeah.
And when the lockdown finished, we went, whew, we can now go back to working on the new things, which is what we enjoy.
Yeah.
We're an unusual company. We just like making things.
And new things.
New things, new technology.
Yeah.
Actually, we don't even like our industry. We don't like the hi-fi industry because there's a lot of jewelry.
Jewelry?
Yeah, it's a lot about high status. And for us, it's just about engineering to produce music. It's a completely different idea. So, of course, we have some friends in our industry, but most of it we're not happy. So when we can get back to designing, we have a lot of products which we were nearly completing before lockdown, and we could start to work on again. And I think, yeah, I've lost count, but maybe 5 or 6 new products in the last year.
Yeah.
And more next year.
In this year, you launched Planar 1 and 1 Plus and 78 and 2. Of course, the 50th anniversary edition of Planar 3 and Nair as well.
Yeah.
Right. Let's start with the Planar 3 50th anniversary. What has changed compared to the original model?
Well, I have to be honest, the main change is the wood finish, which is a little against our own philosophy. Our philosophy is only do things for sound quality. So for many years, everything is decided on the material, not how it looks. And for the 50th anniversary, we're so busy, we forget to do a product. And our distributors are saying, come on, we must have something. And so in the first time we say, we have a new turntable, the Nair. And then the distributors say, yeah, it's our favorite product maybe, but it's not Riga. Riga is about good value, low cost. So we have to think our longest term product is the Planner 3.
Yeah.
How do we make a Planner 3 50th anniversary? And because we are not making anything in wood, we think, okay, we can just change our philosophy for 1 year. Because some people would like to have a walnut Planner 3. The problem is we will not reduce the performance. So we had to find the material which looks like wood but has the same stiffness. This is a little more difficult. But we did some work and we can make this for 1 year. It's not my favorite, but many distributors like it, many of our customers like it. I'm much more happy with the Naya because the sound quality is so extreme. That makes me feel very proud to put many years of learning into something, into a product.
We'll look into that after we talk about the 50th anniversary. Now, I can see the tone arm, the model is 330, right?
Yep.
Every time I see the turntables from Rega, I can't find any ground cables from the tone arm. What's the secret of not using ground cables?
It's no secret. The ground is there. It's in the screen or the outside of one channel. This is a very contentious, controversial issue in hi-fi about balanced and unbalanced. And you will notice on some very high-priced products, they have balance cables. And many things in hi-fi are just wrong. They're completely mythology. And balanced cables come from the studio world, where you have to have very long cables from the stage to the sound desk, or sometimes from the studio you have to have microphone cables which are coming from the instruments and the orchestra into the studio control room. And if the cables are very long, they pick up noise.
Of course.
So the idea of a balanced cable is technically to reduce or eliminate the noise pickup of the cable. But nearly always the sound quality is actually can be worse. The subject of balanced, unbalanced, symmetrical is a deep subject for electronic designers. And I've tried to understand this all my life and nearly understand, but not completely. We can say that all or nearly all hi-fi amplifiers are not balanced. They're what the electric people call single-ended. They're not symmetrical even. And if you try to put a balanced connector into an unbalanced amplifier, you have to add some extra circuit, which will reduce the sound quality.
Of course.
Normally the extra circuit is a chip, and you can have very high quality discrete circuit and you put a chip to make it balanced. In our company, we hate doing things just because of mythology or because the people want it. We like to do things which definitely improve sound quality. So the idea of balanced, unbalanced, and in the arm cable, having this extra earth, which is only for a fully balanced, fully symmetrical circuit, is just unimportant. And actually, we're not aware of any products which are fully symmetrical and fully balanced, where this arm cable is necessary. So in our world, everything is connected to the ground, technically, in practical terms. So there is no reason why we cannot connect the cartridge to the ground in the tone arm. And if we have an extra cable it's a technical problem for manufacturing the very fine cables in a tone arm. They have to be very, very thin and very flexible to make the arm have low friction. And if you introduce a fifth cable, it can break. And we had a lot of problems in our very early days when we had an arm made in Japan with the fifth wire. Mm-hmm. And it was always the fifth wire would break inside the arm because of the movement.
Yeah.
And if the cable breaks, you get hum. And so we decided it's better to remove it. Of course, we do get some criticism, but not from the real engineers. Mm-hmm. The real engineers understand, mm-hmm. and they say, of course, it's all unbalanced. Why do you need this extra cable? And we also did this taking advice from very high quality engineers, many of them. But in the hi-fi world, there are still people who say balanced is good just because expensive equipment has balanced inputs. And the balanced inputs are only there for studios, not for hi-fi. Mm-hmm. Does that answer the question? It's a long answer, but...
Yeah, I think I can agree a part of it, but yeah. And I can see here the P10 models right here. Also, Rega runs the new flagship turntable, the Naya.
Yeah.
I can see have a lot in common between Planar 10 and Naya, right?
Yeah. Actually, there's more in common with a previous model we made called the Naiad.
Naiad, yes.
But this was not a commercial product. It happened in 2009 when turntable sales suddenly increased, and we didn't know why. Now we're very happy that the turntable world has come back to us. But in 2009 we had to make a commercial decision. Do we invest in the future of digital, or do we invest in the future of turntables? And at that time, actually, we were making a CD player, which a few people would agree was one of the best sounding CD players, because we had a special chipset, mm-hmm. which nobody else had. And the chipset actually came from the computer world, so it was bit perfect. And there were no other CD players which had a bit perfect control chip. Oh. It had some problems, but the sound was definitely better. We could hear a better sound from computers than we could from CD players. But we could see CD sales were decreasing in 2009, and the turntables were starting to increase. Mm-hmm. And we were still a small company, and we had to decide, where do we invest for the next year? And everybody in Riga said, invest in turntables, just because that's where our emotions and also our knowledge. We had 40 years of making turntables, 30, 40 years. We had a lot of research development which we could not afford to put into products because we weren't making enough to make enough profit. Yeah. Suddenly, 2009, turntable sales doubled, and we thought, oh, we can invest. So we made one turntable with every idea we'd had, which nobody believed in the outside world. Mm-hmm. Everything we made, it's not perfect, but the best that was possible with modern technology, modern materials, modern processes. And we needed to use a different world. It was the world of Formula One cars, the world of defense.
Defense, like yeah. Army.
Armaments. Mm-hmm. Companies who are making rockets yeah. For the unusual materials. And we were so lucky because in this time, Formula One put a cap on the budget. Mm-hmm. They said the teams cannot spend more than, I think, £300 million. I know it's a lot, but they capped the budget. So suddenly in England, it's a center of Formula One technology.
Of course.
Suddenly there were many companies with spare time. And also the England government decided to spend less on defense. So the companies making parts for guns and rockets, particularly rockets, had spare time. And many of the things we wanted to do, some were ceramics.
Yeah.
This comes from the nose part of a rocket, because you can have radar behind it, and it allows the radar to go through, but also it can get very hot without distorting, without changing. So it's a very hard, tough material. But to make one cone for the front of a rocket was £20,000 for one. And it was very difficult for the company to make a profit from this. And the government were very strict on the budgets. And we came and said, we want a turntable made from ceramic. And originally they were saying, oh, well, maybe this would cost £2,000 or £3,000 for this one piece. And we said, it's too expensive. And we found one company who the owner said, how many? And we said, oh, maybe 50 every month. 50, for them, this was very high quantity. And he was thinking, actually, this would be more profitable, and it would give our staff work when we are low in business. And also we can learn something from making something very accurate, which is, it's more accurate than a rocket nose cone. And the drawings we gave them, they said, this is very difficult with ceramics. The material is very hard.
Yeah.
It can only be machined with diamond grinding, and it has to be made in a very soft form and then put in an oven at 2000 degrees for 24 hours, and then it shrinks 20%, and when it shrinks it changes shape, and then it has to be made flat again. So it's very, very difficult to make. And we were very, very lucky. We found just one company owner who could see, he could learn something, and he could give some work to the company. Maybe not profitable for them, but it would give them a technical advantage for the future. Just big luck for us. And so we got the Planet 10 platter back at this time. And then also we said we want a bearing from an even tougher material called zirconium, which is, it's a diamond substitute. It can be a diamond jewel also. And at first they just said, this is impossible. And what you're asking, one piece for a bearing, it must have 8 microns of the gap between the center of the bearing and the outside.
Yeah.
And we said, but there's a challenge. You like challenges. And he said, okay, we'll try. And it took 18 months to make just one bearing.
One bearing.
At the end, he said, we've made it. We have one. And we said, well, how much will this cost? He said, we can't even calculate, because it's taken 4 or 5 people working on it. We've made hundreds of mistakes, but now we can do it. And he said, we will send you an invoice for £1,000, but you know, it's not the cost. And we said, oh, so we have one. We're very, very happy. At the same time, we were working with a company that make the carbon fiber gearboxes for Renault engines, the Formula One engines they were making. And actually carbon fiber is very strong when you pull it in tension, but when you compress, it's very soft. So it's not a good material for an arm, for instance, because it's only strong if you push it. But an arm needs to be strong in every direction.
Of course.
So we said, we need a carbon fiber plinth, very lightweight, minimum size, but it has to be very strong in all directions. And they had one engineer who had no work because Renault had cancelled the budget for their gearboxes. And he was a LP enthusiast, he was a vinyl enthusiast. And we had some wonderful meetings with him because he understood our engineering beliefs exactly, very quickly. In our world, in hi-fi, the journalists don't believe us. When we say a plinth has to be very lightweight, they just say, oh, that's your opinion. And, you know, why do we fit the bearing like this? They just say, oh, other people have a different. But because he's a Formula One engineer, where you have to make things which work and which produce result, and he could understand, no, there's no problem with this. We had a lovely time working with him, and he helped us make the plinth for the Naiad. We could tell him our brief, what we wanted, and he kept coming back with ideas how he could produce this product with no stress internally, very lightweight and very strong and stiff in all directions. So that's just two stories. There were other parts of the arm which were made with titanium, which is the material you use, for instance, for jet aircraft fans. It's very light, very strong, but very expensive.
But also based on the RB3000 model?
It's based on the model, but with less joints and using a material we cannot use for a Planner 3. The cost of just this tiny part of the arm would be 3 times the cost of the whole Planner 3. Okay. Yeah, just to give you an idea. Yeah. But it's stiffer, less joints, less movement, and lighter in weight. So for the Naiad, it was possible when we decided money is not an issue. We want just to make the best possible engineering for sound quality. So at the end of 18 months, nearly 2 years, we had one turntable and we played it and we were just so happy with the sound quality. We were shocked. And not just us. Our French distributor was visiting just 2 days after we played it, and he said, oh, I want 5, please. We said, this is not a product, you can't have it. He said, I don't care, I want 5. And he's someone we respected a lot because his whole business was about sound and music. So when he's really explained, and we said, do you realize that this could cost, we actually don't know if we could make one. And he said, I don't care. If I have 5, I will sell them. It just made us interested. And then our German distributor came and said, oh, I think how much? He said, how much will it be? We said, we don't know. And he said, if it could be £50,000,
50,000.
We could sell 10 of them. And we were, again, also, an American distributor came and said, oh, we could sell some. So actually it took 10 years to make 50. That's the story. In 10 years, we managed to get enough parts, actually 47. We tried to make 50, but the last 3, the parts were not working properly. And all this time we thought, wouldn't it be good to make a production version? And we had 10 years of research working, how can we make a plinth like this, which is possible in cost. The plinth we made for the Naiad was just impossible. The cost is okay for a Formula One car, but not for a turntable. Yeah. So we spent a long time working out how we could make this shape, this idea. And actually, it was Manchester University that came to help us. They developed a new product called graphene.
Graphene, yes.
You heard of the product?
Yeah, of course.
It's not mythology, it's real. but it's difficult to find the use in real life. Graphene is one molecule thick sheet
Of carbon.
of carbon.
Yes.
So a piece this big is 20, 30,000 pounds. And what can you do with very thin sheet? So the work is still happening. In Manchester University, they have investment from Abu Dhabi and from the Manchester government. And we were welcomed to come and see how they were making the graphene. And we found there is a product which comes from graphene manufacture. It's called graphene oxide.
Graphene oxide.
And it's a very fine molecular powder, just like the powder you put on your face, but black. And if you put this powder with plastics, actually also with concrete, it makes the concrete or the plastics much stronger. They still don't fully understand the reason, but with plastic it's a chemical bond and it makes the bond stronger. The university is still researching why, but also in concrete curing, it makes the concrete much stiffer when you're pulling it. So it's happening now. You can make concrete without the steel bars.
Oh, really?
Inside, using this material. But they don't have enough data to use it in big buildings because it's a safety problem. So there's a lot of research happening. Actually, I'm hoping to build a house with this material. I have the approval of the university, but I'm struggling with the building authority at the moment. I'm saying, look, I want to experiment. And they're not sure. This is a long story, but we use this material in the carbon fiber for the Naya, which made the carbon fiber much stiffer in all directions, not just pulling. It makes it stiffer, twisting and compressing. And it allowed us to have a much lower cost plinth that was actually stiffer than the Naiad, but 1/10 or 1/20 of the price. So I know it's a long story. I apologize. It's a long story. Everything in Riga is a long story. But that's how we could use the shape, which is the best shape, but with the material that's much stronger. It costs a lot more than the Planet 10, but it can be made accurately and it can be made in production. So now we've just launched it and we already have orders for, I think, 182 turntables, and that's I think that's just 1/3 of our distributors so far. And we've made 50 to date. We can make about 3 a day.
Just 3 pieces?
Yeah, every day.
Okay.
With the Planner 1, we can make 5,000 in a month. It's a different discipline.
I always wanted to know where this unique design came from, the body.
Okay, the design is just purely engineering. Where do we need the maximum strength? And the maximum strength is needed between the arm and the bearing. So you can see we also put a ceramic brace between the arm and the bearing to make it very stiff. We've written a book about this technology. It's called A Vibration Measuring Machine. And a turntable is not magic. It's just trying to measure the vibration in a rotating record. But the rotation needs to be exact, and to measure the vibrations less than 1 micron. Everything needs to be very stiff and not moving at all. And the movement is coming from many different areas. The movement's coming from sound in the air. It's like a microphone. It's picking up sound. It picks up a little bit of sound from the ground, but not very much, but a little bit. And also the cartridge is vibrating, so it's putting some energy into the arm and everything is vibrating and moving. And as engineers, we're saying, how can it measure 1 micron or less when everything is moving all the time? And like many things in life, you don't really fully understand it. But what we can say is, if we can make it move less, it will measure better. So that's why everything in Riga is about less movement, less mass, stiffness. How do we measure from this point to this point? There's one other machine in the world which has a similar philosophy. It's called a seismograph, and it's measuring the earth movement for earthquakes. Yeah, that's why Riga's different. We're just looking at measuring a record. It's not something magic about hi-fi or sound.
It's just like sounds like a word of quantum mechanics, you know.
Not really. Not quantum mechanics is still philosophy. Our world is the world of making a boat or a car or an aeroplane. It's something which has to work. And if you're an engineer, you're a scientist, but a scientist is theory. An engineer is someone that has to make theories which work. And we just think we're good engineers. We make things which work better. And because we're just unusual, we're engineers who like music. We want to make music that people listen to better, not about more bass or more treble or better mid-range, all of these words which are used in hi-fi. When we're listening to the performance of the music, not listening to the bass or the mid-range. Yeah, can we hear what the musician is trying to express? And with a turntable, it's just measuring the vibration. With a CD, it's about bits. How do we make bits flow? And in theory, in the digital world, everything is perfect. But if you start studying how anything digital works, it's not perfect. There are always joints, connections, buffers.
And jitters.
Jitter happens because of the time difference between digital information arriving at different points, different times. So the real engineers also know digital is never perfect, but the consumer believes it should be perfect. But of course, if you're listening to a CD and a vinyl LP that come from the same tape, you can hear the vinyl is much higher in quality.
Of course.
And then we have to say why. And we're lucky because we have some digital engineers. We have one very, very talented young digital engineer who's actually American, and he wanted to come and work at Riga. And we have a very old, very experienced electronic but analog engineer. And we have a team of mechanical engineers. I'm part of the team. So yeah, that's Riga. We like precision engineering, we like materials, and we like music, and we like using our skills to make better music. And the Naya is part of that. It's the best we can do now. And it's very expensive for us, but it's still a sensible price.
Compared to the Naiad.
Yeah, or other things. In your shop, I notice you have many loudspeakers which are costing £250,000.
Yeah.
Which for us is just crazy, you know. This same French distributor, many years ago, he's retired now, who wanted to buy the Naiad. When we asked him about loudspeakers, he said, when you look at loudspeaker, there is no relationship between cost and quality. And I can see you're nodding. The cost is something else. It's about the status or the visual, the looks, but not about sound quality. I'm just a simple engineer. If something is making sound, that's what it should do. It doesn't matter what it looks like. it's a big struggle in my company because I just make things from how they work. Other people have to say, Roy, this doesn't look good. We need to change it. We need to. So we have teams of people working on the looks after we finished. I think you have a lot of editing to do in the.
No, of course.
Do you have a good editor?
Right here.
You don't have a Naya turntable yet?
Not yet, really.
Will you promise me something?
What?
Maybe promise when you receive it, compare with everything you have, any price.
You mean compare with the best turntable we can get?
Yeah. Actually, you could do this with the Planner 10 even, I think. Even the Planner 8, you could compare with any other product you have at any price. Just listen and just change the turntable, nothing else.
Like an A/B test?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to focus more about yourself, on how you get into this business and how you started your engineering career and so on as well.
I'm not so good at talking about myself. I love to talk about the engineering. But that's a simple question. How do you get into the business? Actually, Raymond, our distributor, asked me about when I was younger, how I made a decision. And at the time, I was working at the Ford Motor Company as a student. And my mother was a single parent, so we were very poor. And I had no money to buy hi-fi equipment. So everything I did, I had to work hard to earn some money to buy it. And my mother was 58 years. I was 18 years old at the time. And she decided, I'm a man now. And she went traveling the world on her own at 58 years old. And she left me in a house with 3 other teachers, and one of them had a very simple hi-fi system. And on Sunday morning, I would sleep late, maybe till 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock. I'd wake up and I would play his music. He had a collection of classical music, and it was heaven for me. Every morning I could wake up late and for 2 or 3 hours listen to records. He was happy I was using his equipment. Sometimes he would listen with me. And after 2 or 3 years, I got married and moved out. And when you're young, you don't think about things, you just do things, yeah? So I moved out. Actually, I was quite unhappy with living with these 3 guys because I used to love cooking, and they would steal my food. And they were wealthy, they all had jobs, and I had no money, but they were stealing my food all the time. So I was always arguing with them. And I think one reason to get married was just to get out, get a flat, which was difficult. I was lucky, I got a flat. And the first Sunday, move into the flat, no music. What can I do? It was very, very difficult. And so I spoke to a father of a friend of mine who was an engineer, mechanical, electrical. He was a very clever genius, and he helped me a lot. And he said, you can make the loudspeakers. He knew I could make motorcycles. I could understand everything about engines and mechanical engineering. I was saying I want to make the amplifier because this was the most expensive part. And he said, that's not you, Roy. I said, why not? He said, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to play with these things? He showed me a resistor, showed me a capacitor. Do you want to spend 6 months soldering, making something, and then you plug it in, and it blows up. And then you have to learn what went wrong. I said, no, I just want some sound. He said, then please don't do the electronics. It will be annoying for you. You can make a loudspeaker very easily. He gave me 2 books, which were written by the owner of Wharfdale, Gilbert Briggs.
Wharfdale.
They were very well-known books at the time. He said, if you read these, I read them, everything was exactly like a suspension on a motorcycle or a car. It's all about springs, movement, stiffness, sound. So I started to make loudspeakers, and friends immediately wanted to buy them, and he was 100% correct. I made speakers at home, small business, 5 at a time in my lounge. My friends bought the loudspeakers. I earned money to buy the amplifier, but I still didn't have a turntable. And I tried, at the time we had automatic turntables, which you would put 10 45 records on and it would play all 10. I had one of those, and I tried to play an LP, and there's a lot of noise coming through the high quality loudspeaker and the high quality amplifier I bought. So I immediately took it apart and tried to make it better, and I couldn't. And then a friend gave me an old turntable he found someone had thrown away. It had a much better bearing, but it didn't have the platter. But I could make this, and I had lots of friends who worked in the engineering business, so I made a turntable from parts. And suddenly I could listen to music again, which was all I wanted to do. And people were still buying loudspeakers, and I was earning some money in my part-time while I'm working at Ford. And then the people said, can you sell me some amplifiers? So I became a hi-fi dealer. I found a company who would sell me amplifiers, and they would sell me turntables. Amplifiers were no problem. I bought them, sold them. The turntables came in, everything was broken in transit. They had 2 models. One was a Torrens TD150.
Yeah.
And the other was a Goldring GL75.
Goldring.
Okay. So the Torrens had very, very small bearings. And in just shipping, the bearings would break every time, all of them. And I used to phone the distributor, and they said, oh, yeah, everyone has this problem. We have some spares. Please don't send it back. Can you fit the new ones? We'll send them to you. So they sent me the new bearings, and I fitted them. And after maybe 5 or 10, I phoned and said, can I have some more, please? I said, oh, we've run out. We don't have any left because they're all breaking. And I go, well, what can I do? I have the customer, but at least I could make them, or a friend could make them for me, or I could make some at Ford. And then I started to think, this is a lot of trouble. Also, if I bought a Goldring turntable, the motor was very big, very heavy, and it would bend parts of the motor or break the mounting. So I had to try and straighten it. I just thought it's easier if I make a turntable to begin with. I'd already made my own, and I just thought, oh, I can make one simple bearing. The only thing I didn't make was the arm. And I just thought I should make it look unusual. So instead of having a round platter, it had 3 outside weights, which were spinning round, to support the record on 3 points. And it looked like a sculpture, it looked beautiful. So of course people said, oh, can I buy one? And I started making these at home. A shop in England said, oh, I can sell some. But there was a problem, because there were 3 supports, which I thought would be better. you could hear the sound of of the supports going past. The record was not supported, and you could hear the sound of the record picking up the sound in the air and the record moving and vibrating. If you played loud, you know, it's very low, but you could hear it. And I'm getting annoyed with this, but people are buying them, and most people are playing quietly, so they don't hear the sound, and they prefer the lovely good looks. And a shop in England said we should start a company to make them. And I'm just a young engineer. I've just newly qualified, working at Ford Motor Company. What do you mean start a company? How can I do this? But he was already a shop like you. He understood business. He said, I will put in £1,000, you put in £1,000, I'll register the company, and we can make these turntables above my shop. I have a room. And I'm shocked, surprised. But I had already earned exactly £1,000 from selling speakers and turntables as a hi-fi dealer. So it just seemed like he's saying, give me your £1,000, I've earned £1,000 I don't need. It just happened. And this is like a lot of my life. Opportunities are coming. And that's how the business started.
That's the very beginning of how Rega started.
That's the very, very beginning. And he stayed with me for 2 years. He was like a business mentor. But very soon he noticed I needed more people. In the first year we sold 100 turntables every month. And I could see we could sell many more. And in my holiday, I was still working at Ford. I was making the turntables in the evening. And I took 2 weeks holiday and went traveling around Europe. And one shop in France said, we can sell 100 every month. And I'm thinking, oh, how's this possible? Because our distributor in England's only selling 100 a month in the whole of England. And we went to Denmark, and the shop there said, we can easily sell 100 in a month. And someone in Germany said, we can sell 100 in a month. So I came back after 2 weeks, and I said to my partner, we can make 300 now. And when you're small, you can grow quickly. And he actually bought a house, which I converted into a factory, so we had more room. And I said, you need to come and work now. And he said, oh, I don't want to do work. And so he said, you can buy my shares, but I had no money. So I left the Ford Motor Company. They gave me a big payment to leave. And some of this payment went to my partner, some went for a new factory. It's a long, long story, but the company then grew every year. Just got bigger and bigger and bigger. But we always grew without borrowing money. We didn't borrow money in the beginning. I was very lucky to have this partner who just saw an advantage. He could see something where he didn't need to work. I would do the work, he would put the money and the facilities. His mother used to come and work for us for free at the beginning. So I've had a lucky life, I think. And we've had many, many companies since then who just enjoy the challenge we give them. And they do development work for us for free, just to learn about making very accurate materials and products. Even now we've got companies in Germany making these ceramic parts, and we've got a very big German company making bearings from plastic with all their own development costs. So I've enjoyed this collaboration with other engineers all over the world, actually. After here, I'm going to Japan. We're visiting 3 companies who make diamonds.
Diamonds.
the diamonds for the stylus on
Stylus.
the cartridge.
Uh-huh.
And it's been a wonderful life working with people from, well, we have 50 different distributors now, all really, really lovely people. I think at least 30 of them are good friends. So for me, Riga is just very, very good fun.
Without the turntable products, you have a full range of audio devices, right? Like speakers and amplifiers and so on as well. Are you involved all the kinds of product as well in the company?
Do you mean me or Riga?
You also taking part of designing the electronics or the other devices as well?
Okay. I'm a mechanical engineer. When you study mechanical engineering, you learn a little bit about electrical engineering, but not the detail of design. So I understand about electricity, I understand about magnets, I understand what the components do, but I'm not an electronics designer. So for me personally, all the mechanical parts, I'm part, well, originally I was the only designer, but the last product I did completely by myself was the tone arm. And then more people, the arm was very successful, and Riga started to grow and get bigger and bigger because people liked the sound. And we started to take on new people. So now we have maybe nearly 10 people who are designing, and 1, 2, 3, 3.5 are electronics.
What do you mean 3.5?
Well, one of them is half electronics and half mechanical. So I work with them because very clever designers have too many ideas. Yeah, I'm not a very clever designer. I'm just someone who enjoys looking for experts, asking questions, and I can see the quality of other people. I can understand if they are experts or not. I can understand the people who are bluffing. So I'm able to take good ideas from people. I have some engineering myself, which comes from having to make motorcycles and cars when I'm younger. But also I can understand in the electronics world which are the good designers and which are not. And what I've noticed is the people who have exceptional brains usually are not focused. And we are very, very lucky. We have a designer who grew up with musicians in England, and he understands, he's not a god of technology. He understands that electronics can make differences to the sound. Do you know a band called Procol Harum?
Procol Harum.
It's a band that had a very big hit called A Whiter Shade of Pale in the early 1970s. And they came from our area in Southend. And our designer, Terry, came from the school that this band came from. And he was looking after all of their valve amplifiers and their guitar circuits. And so he grew up understanding that you can design an amplifier, but the musician will say, I want this to sound brighter, or I want this to sound different. And he doesn't have the strong idea that he is a god, but he's, in my opinion, more clever than other designers I've met in the world of hi-fi. But we ask him, now Riga says, can we have a new amplifier? Maybe we give him a cost. He says, okay. 6 months he comes back with 5 different designs. And he's very excited, and he's saying, I can do some more if you want. You tell me which one sounds better. And we start asking questions, which is more reliable? What does this cost? So my job is, if you like, just talking about the ideas, direction, where do we go? At the moment, actually, we're making a higher price amplifier, and we are stuck with 2 power amplifiers which both sound better than anything we made, and normally we can say this is the best one, and this time nobody at Riga they both sound really good but different. So we have to make a decision when I get back to England, which one shall we produce? And yeah, this is maybe, I'm part of a team which will make these decisions in electronics, but not the design. I know enough to listen, because often the designers are saying, oh, Roy, look, this is sounding beautiful, but every time I try and play very loud, smoke comes out. Or this one's getting much too hot. And I can say, well, okay, we can make the case bigger, or we can design a new heatsink. So it's just giving, like a counselor, like a psychologist with the designer. So that's my function with electronics. But with mechanical design, I'm part of a team, and we're all working together. Now I don't do anything on my own. I've got bored with the whole process, making, when I designed the first turntable, I forgot maybe 100 parts, everything. You have many ideas which go wrong, so you have to make them again. You learn from making mistakes. Now there are many people that enjoy doing it. We're about to make a new cartridge next year, and I've been working with one of our designers, James. He's much younger, and he's already made 77 new prototypes. 77 prototypes. And while I'm away, there's 3 more he's making, because he discovered something new. So when I'm getting back, I have to work with him on these 3, listen. And I have a problem. I'm getting older. My hearing's not so good now. So I'm having to decide which people are hearing reliably, which are objective people. Some people listen subjectively, what they prefer. Some people are saying, this is more natural, this is a better sound. I have to decide this. So the question originally was, do I work with everything? I'm part of the electronics team, but not part of the design. With the mechanical, I'm part of every detail, but now I'm really enjoying giving my experience, and lots of other people are making the prototypes, and we're working. I love working with people. I love young people who have unusual ideas. Sometimes they're crazy, and I can just say, no, this is crazy, don't bother. Actually, sometimes I'm wrong. We have a very open culture, so even if I say, don't do this, sometimes the designers carry on doing it, and they say, look, Roy, you're wrong, it's working now. It's happened many times, yeah.
So we didn't talk about the product that much today, but we can understand about the Riga. What is Riga about?
Well, Riga is about a lot more than hi-fi. I think from the stories you heard, we just grew. It wasn't an ambition or a plan. All I've ever done is take the opportunities. And we have a lot of people who have wonderful ideas and who have been responsible for managing maybe. And about 30 years ago, when we were a much smaller company, just 20 people, and when you're small and growing, you have problems. And one time we had a big problem with one person who was controlling the company. I'm very happy that somebody is controlling the finance, controlling the people. I can do my job of making new turntables, new this. But suddenly his control becomes too much. And we have young people want to grow, and he won't let them. And eventually this person who was, if you like, the CEO or managing director of the small company, the company got too big for him. And the people were making jokes about him, and he resigned and left. And we had nothing. We had me, who's just wanting to keep making new turntables, and people coming to me and saying, Roy, what are we going to do about new distributors, new selling? You can't do everything. And we had to make decisions about what we wanted. And what we wanted was a company without his control. Yeah, so we decided we don't want authority. We don't want any person who can shout at someone else. Or we don't want anyone who can punish anybody. We want to have everybody equal as people. And 30, 40 years later now, this is Riga. We have a company which is completely level with hierarchy. I'm talking about this with Raymond this morning, that I discovered 2 years ago Korea had one of the highest levels of hierarchies in the world. I think you're number 3 officially, according to one scientist, of levels of hierarchy. And Riga, it's not 100% true, but we believe we had 0 levels. And we try hard to have 0 levels of hierarchy. And this has become so much a part of us that Cambridge University uses us to train its management students. Every month and every year we're having visits from students from Cambridge University to study how we're working, because they believe it's not possible. And the lecturers really enjoy what we're doing. So they send their students. If the students say, you must have a boss, you must have a director, you must have authority, they send them to Riga, and maybe they work with us for 2 weeks. Or maybe they work just even for a day. We had a girl coming to question everyone. And she was very surprised, actually. So we're enjoying this equally to making good hi-fi products. We're enjoying the fact we have an unusual management structure. It's still hard work. We still have people who want to break it. Actually, the only person we sacked recently was a cook. We have a canteen, and he was being very much a boss with the cook working with him, and it was going wrong.
Like a Gordon Ramsay.
Exactly. Yeah, he was he was even telling lies, but you cannot believe how wonderful it is to work in an environment where everybody is respecting everyone, and everybody respects you for what you know, what you can do, what your ability is. It's not about your suits or what car you're driving or what your status or title is. And normally when people get older, they will have disrespect because they are just trying to rule with authority. And I'm just so happy now. I have younger people who ask me questions all the time. I have a phone call in the morning. Roy, you must come in today. what are you doing? I said, I can't come in because maybe I'm having a meeting with an accountant or a law, or another company, or I'm traveling, and they say, I've got a big problem, maybe even electronics, or I need to make a decision. Can you just come in for 1 hour? And then I'll find 1 hour, go in. And for me, that's really, really good fun because I'm needed as a person. So that's Riga now. It's not just a hi-fi company. Actually, we're trying to make other products outside hi-fi. We've made many other things for other people. We've made a wheelchair for disabled people. We've made some furniture for hospitals, some special, very low stools for physiotherapists to kneel on. We're working on a corkscrew for 20 years now. We're trying to get one of our designers to make a special corkscrew. So we're proud that we're good engineers. We're proud that we have this level of authority. And we're just looking forward to the next 10 years, 20 years. What can we do then?
I think it's possible when it meets the higher standard with an equal culture.
Yeah.
I think that's what's the Riga about for now.
Yeah. And we believe it's a good commercial idea because actually you get something better from the people. If people are always worried about will they make a mistake or will they be sacked for making something wrong, they cannot do their best work. So if people are enjoying that they are responsible for their own work, then you get clever people who enjoy. Not everybody likes it. We get people who join us for 1 or 2 weeks and they say, no, I want somebody to tell me what to do. I can't work like this. A few people enjoy it, and they're usually special people. We have many different nationalities working at Riga. We have people from Hungary, Poland, Cambodia, America. We have had someone from Korea in the past, Thai lady in the past. We've had French. We have an Italian person, Philippines, many different countries. That's also when we look back and we say, why have we grown in culture? We believe a lot of it is having different cultures working at Riga. We're almost 50% women and men. And we actually have 60% supervisors of the departments are women. And I have to say the supervisor is not authority, it's just extra responsibility of organizing the department and making the department meet orders every month. So they have an extra responsibility of making things, but also working with the sales and the management organization. And 60% are women. Maybe next year it will be 50% again. We just choose on ability. And yeah, it's been a very big part of my life, learning that people can think differently and different cultures have different ideas. And what we're told in England about England is the best is not true. And the first time I went to France, they had better trains, better phone system, and I'm shocked. But everyone told me we have the best trains, and the French trains are quieter, quicker, they run on time. Go to Japan and the trains are coming exactly on time all the time. In England, they're always late. Sometimes the trains miss completely. So it's really good fun learning other things are possible.
Well, thank you for the great interview today. That was Roy Gandhi from Riga. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. I think you have too much information there.